Hey Cotton Branch family, it's Evan here. I hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday. Wanted to just check in with everybody, see how everyone was doing throughout this whole entire live stream. Definitely go ahead and ask any questions that you have about the farm, about pigs, about goats, donkeys, cows, whatever, and we can absolutely answer that for you. So, but I do want to talk about what's actually going to be happening today. So, for instance, we're going to have a Chef Matt Martain. He is a Fresh List. And I'll tell you a little bit about Fresh List. Fresh List is a company based in Charlotte, and they actually provide door-to-door produce service, like delivery service for your produce. And so if you are in the Charlotte metro area, definitely check them out. Fresh List CLT, if you look them up on Facebook, and we'll also provide a whole bunch of their handles and everything throughout the video, so you can kind of get in touch with them. But we've known Chef Matt for years. He was at Fern. He was the head chef at Fern for a while, and they have been amazing. And Chef Matt has been such an amazing ally for Cotton Branch, and we really appreciate him doing this for us. So, guys, sit back, relax. This is a really interesting recipe, something that is a staple for me, especially in the South at least. And so check it out, and hope y'all enjoy it. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Cotton Branch supporters, Josh, Evan, hello, everybody. I hope you guys are doing all right. I hope you were safe. My name is Matthew Martain. I am the executive chef and culinary coordinator for Fresh List. And today I'm going to be sharing with you a awesome vegan comfort meal. We're going to be making some breakfast today. We're going to be making some biscuits with sausage and gravy. So what I want you to do first to be able to make this recipe is get everything out that you're going to need for it. That'll make our cook time, that'll make this whole process a little bit easier. So for the biscuits, what we're going to need is a big metal bowl. You're going to need a biscuit cutter, a couple tablespoons and teaspoons. You're going to need a bowl. We're going to be making some buttermilk with this. You're just going to need a little cleanup bench scraper, and that's it. So in front of us for ingredients, what we've got is we've got some soy milk and lemon juice. We've got flour. We have some whole wheat flour. We have baking soda, baking powder, a little bit of a vegetable Crisco, little shortening there, earth balance, and then these are all the ingredients for the gravy, which we'll get into in just a minute. So first, to make this recipe, obviously wash your hands, get them clean. I want you to get your oven preheated to 450 degrees. Inside your oven, if applicable, if you have one, I want you to put a cast iron skillet. So if we take a peep in here right quick, we've got this awesome Lodge cast iron skillet getting heated up. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna give us an awesome crust on the bottom of our biscuits. So we're ready to get into production. So we're gonna come over here and we're gonna put 1 cup of soy milk into a bowl. We're gonna throw a tablespoon of lemon juice in there. And this is gonna be coming together to make a buttermilk for us. So now that that's in there, we're gonna mix that up really quick, and I'm gonna let that sit for just about like 3 to 4 minutes while I'm getting all the other ingredients together. All right, so we're gonna be using a little bit of whole wheat flour, and this is kind of just like a trick where this whole wheat flour is gonna give our biscuits a little bit more structure, and it's gonna give it a nicer tooth and a little bit better of a crumb. This is really like granular though, so if you don't have whole wheat flour, absolutely don't worry about it, just use all-purpose. So we're putting half a cup of the whole wheat flour. We're gonna be putting 1.5 cups of regular all-purpose. So if just using all-purpose flour, obviously you would just be putting 2 cups of all-purpose flour in here. All right, so we've got our flour in here. Next up, we are going to be putting a half of a tablespoon of baking soda. We're gonna be putting a full tablespoon of baking powder. And we're gonna be putting a full teaspoon of salt. And I'm just gonna grab a whisk really quick, and we're gonna whisk that up just to get the powder, the soda, and the salt incorporated into the flour. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna incorporate our butter and our shortening into our flour mixture. So what I like to explain to people when they're making biscuits is we're gonna kind of be doing this I want the money motion. So we're gonna be sort of mixing with our hands and doing this motion to spread the butter and to spread the shortening into these really small pea-sized pieces. So it's really, really simple, and it's really kind of fun too. If you have kids, this is a fun thing to let them do because it's kind of messy too. If you have gloves, I'd recommend wearing gloves, but you know, pandemic, shortage, there's no gloves anywhere, so I don't have them. I'm just gonna use my hands and then wash them. So I've got 3 tablespoons of regular butter, and like I was saying before, my little Crisco trick, we've got 1 tablespoon of Crisco, and I'm just gonna get in here, and like I said, that little I want the money motion, I'm just gonna incorporate this into the flour that we've got in our bowl, and I'm just gonna really look to get these sort of pea-sized pieces, and what that's gonna do is that's gonna start to be what produces layers for us, texture for us, nooks and crannies in our biscuits, all the things that we really like. You want to make sure that you're using really cold butter. My butter was obviously just in the fridge before I took it out. And the colder the butter, the more you're going to get those pockets that occurs in biscuits that you really like. So this process just takes a few seconds. It's a little messy, but it's okay. And I'm just going to mix this up real quick. So all that butter is nice and incorporated. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a well right in the middle of my bowl. Just a little well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, probably to start, just about half of the buttermilk that we made just a few minutes ago. I'm going to whisk that up really quick. And I'm going to add that right into that well that I created. I don't want to add all of it. We might use all of it, we might not, but it's always easier to add more liquid than it is to add more dry. Adding more dry in a process like this could end up throwing off the ratios of powder and soda that we're using. So it's always easier to add more milk than it is to add more dry. And then you'll see, I'm really just gonna go into here and sort of fold everything over. I'm trying to be really gentle to not overmix my dough. And I'm just gonna continue to fold and then sort of just press together, and you'll see it's starting to come together just a little bit. This is gonna be a little bit too dry, so I'm gonna add probably another half of this, and we'll go from there. So I'm gonna just keep folding over. And this is feeling like it's gonna be good. So once you have this pretty much to the point where it's coming together like dough in your bowl, we're gonna transfer this to our clean service, our clean work table that we're working off of right now. Okay, so you see how that's pretty much all together? This is the point now where I'm going to move my bowl, grab a little bit of flour. You want to put a little bit of flour on your surface so that the biscuit dough doesn't stick to the bottom of the table that you're working off of. And I'm going to dump this out. And this recipe makes around like 7 to 9 biscuits depending on what size cutter that you use. All right, so now I'm just going to use my hands to form these little biscuits. What I like to do is push it into one ball and then gently press the dough down to the size that I want my biscuit. And when I mean size, I mean height. So I'm just gonna push this down to get it to the height that I want. And you want it to be about a 1/2 inch thick. And then these biscuits are gonna fluff up when we cook them. Cooking these biscuits in a high heat oven gives us a couple of great qualities. So it's gonna give us a lot of height on our biscuit because the steam is going to come out from the moisture that we have in this dough, in the soy milk and in the butter, and that's going to leaven our biscuit. And then the high heat is also going to give us some really good caramelization on our biscuit. So now that we have our dough to the point where we need it to be, what we're going to do is clear our dishes to give me some more working space, and we're going to take our biscuit cutter, and all you're gonna do is move it around in some flour, and that just gets the biscuit cutter a little bit of flour on it so it doesn't stick when we cut our biscuit. And we're just gonna press right in and move that to the side. And we got one little biscuit, and I'm just gonna do that to the rest of these really quick. So on that first press through of these biscuits, I got about 5. And now I'm going to gently, very, very gently push this dough back together and get another couple of biscuits out of this. Usually if I was at the restaurant, I would still try to make these look like all of these. But since I'm at home and I don't want to waste any biscuit, I'm just going to make these little guys squares. That way I don't waste any of the dough that we've made this morning. All right. So our biscuits are at the point where we can put them into the oven. So I'm gonna clean up really quick and then we'll do that in just a second. All right, so now we're cleaned up and now we're actually gonna be getting our biscuits into the oven. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna safely remove that very hot cast iron skillet that we have in the oven. Just gonna use a towel, grab that really quick and put that up here. We're gonna take a little bit of oil and we're gonna season our cast iron pan. So all I'm gonna do is spread some oil on there really quick. And I'm gonna use a paper towel just to move that around. And all this is gonna do is just season the bottom of our pan for us. All right, so that's done. I'm gonna grab our biscuits, one by one. And I'm gonna place them about a ½ inch apart. I want there to be a little bit of room in between the biscuits so that they have space to rise by themselves. But I want them to be close enough so that when they do rise and when they do get a little bit bigger, they can sort of press into each other if they come up that big. And now I've seen a lot of recipes where people will take melted earth balance and they will sort of use a pastry brush to put butter on top of these. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna help you with the caramelization of your biscuit. I don't really like doing that. I find that that's too much moisture. And it's gonna end up making it so that our biscuits don't brown the way that I like them to. So I'm gonna actually use a little bit of a cheat code. I'm gonna use some olive oil spray. So I'm just gonna spritz these. I'm gonna throw a little bit of salt on them just to season the outside. And so these rise evenly. I'm just gonna put a little bit of an indentation in the middle. And now I'm gonna use my towel and throw these bad boys back into the oven. All right, I'm gonna set a timer for 12 minutes and we'll take those out as soon as they're done. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hop into the gravy. All right, so now we're gonna be hopping into making some tempeh sausage gravy. So what you're gonna need for this recipe is you're gonna need a medium-sized pan. I just have like a little medium saucepan. We'll show that in just a second. A block of tempeh, just a tablespoon of already chopped garlic. I'm lazy in my household, so I use previously minced garlic, I'll admit. Some garlic powder, some granulated onion, sage, crushed red pepper, a couple of scallions. We're gonna use earth balance still. We're gonna use some flour, some soy milk, and then half an onion. So to get this recipe started, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set our pan to medium to low heat, just so it can heat up. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna show you how to dice an onion really quick. So this onion is in half, so obviously I've already cut it, removed the skin, and now I just have it cut in half from the top. We're gonna place it like this. We're gonna put our hand flat and keep our fingers up. We're just gonna make a couple of slices in here. Now I'm gonna turn it so that it's facing me. The knife is this way. Now I'm gonna make some cuts this way. And I'm not going all the way through the onion here. I'm really only going about, 8/9 of the way. I'm keeping myself a little bit that isn't cut back here. I'm gonna turn this. So again, my knife is like this. The onion is now facing this way that we've been cutting through. I'm just gonna chop it really quick. All right. And now one little thing that I wanna share. This is still perfectly good onion. A lot of people would just throw this away, but we have a cool little bag in our freezer that we keep all of these little scraps in. And then whenever this bag gets full, I end up making about 2 gallons of vegetable stock. So this is a fun little trick. Scraps that you would throw in there, any vegetables, no peels. The peels are gonna be dirty, they're not gonna give you good flavor. No cruciferous vegetables, so no broccoli or cauliflower, and no tomatoes because it's gonna cloud your stock. But for the most part, anything else is great to be tossed into there. So that's just a little extra bonus tip. All right, so now we've got our onion diced, and I'm gonna put that into our bowl with our chopped garlic. And I'm gonna show you how to make the garnish for this dish before we start cooking everything. So we're just gonna take one of our scallions and we're gonna get this sort of slimy, nasty piece off. We're gonna cut that bottom, and we're gonna throw that out. I'm gonna chop this bottom up into really small circles. And obviously I'm probably chopping a little bit faster than you will be, but take your time, there's no reason to rush. We're gonna throw that into there. And then we're gonna take the top part of the scallion and sort of make these nice little cuts into it to make it look like little strands of grass. And we're gonna throw that into an ice water bath that I have. So for this, your knife is here, your scallion is going this way. Put it on a little bit of an angle, like it was going towards 10 o'clock. And then you're just gonna cut little strands of scallion. And that's that. And I'm just gonna put this into a bowl with a little bit of ice water into it. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna not only clean that scallion, but it's gonna make it nice and crispy for us when we go to use it. I'm just gonna do one more. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go over to our stove top. We're gonna bring all of our ingredients over with us. Okay, to start this recipe off, we're gonna take about 1/4 of a cup of earth balance. We're gonna melt that. And I know that that seems like a lot, and it is, but this earth balance is gonna mix together with our flour and is gonna become the base of the, well, is going to become a roux, which is gonna become the base of the sauce that we're gonna be making, the actual gravy. So I'm gonna let this butter melt down. So now that I'm actually over here at the oven, I'm gonna turn the heat up on my pan to about medium. We have one of the ovens that goes, from 0 to 10. So I have it pretty much in between 6 and 8 right now. And I'm just gonna let this butter melt down. As this butter melts, what we're gonna add to it first is our tempeh. So I don't really like tempeh, I'm not gonna lie. It has a couple of applications where I really actually do enjoy it, one of them being tempeh bacon, and one of them being this sausage gravy. What I like about tempeh in this sort of application is that when you break it down and crumble it, these pieces are really hearty, and these pieces will stay. So what's great about this is as I'm using a wooden spoon to mix this tempeh into my gravy and into my pan, it's not gonna break down and crumble more than I want it to, which sometimes can be an issue when you're using a light, a soft or a light tofu, or if you're using tofu that's not firm. So tempeh is really good in this application because what we want is we want something crispy, and we want something that has really good substance in it that's gonna emulate being a piece of sausage. So I'm just gonna crumble up this tempeh really quick and get it browned up. And one thing to note is tempeh is a fermented product, and that means it's really good for you, but that means that there's active bacteria on this. So after handling tempeh, you need to view it as you are handling any sort of other raw meat, and make sure that you wash your hands very thoroughly. All right, so our tempeh is all in the pan. I'm gonna wash my hands. All right, I'm back. The tempeh is just sizzling away. Now we're gonna want this to get that really nice golden brown color on it that we see right there. So we're just gonna let this continue to sit and cook away. One thing that I wanna make sure you guys do while you're cooking is in each stage, in each base of the process, I wanna make sure that you're seasoning your product. So we've got our tempeh in here right now. I'm just gonna add a medium-sized pinch of salt and a medium-sized pinch of pepper. You don't need to really be concerned about being too exact in this stage because we're gonna be tasting and we're gonna be seasoning it as we continue to go. All right, so we're getting nice and golden brown over here. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add our onion, we're gonna add the scallion bottom and the garlic that we have in this bowl over here. Use our handy dandy wooden spoon to help us get everything out. All right. And from this stage, we're really not looking to add any more caramelization on the onion or on the garlic. We're really just looking to sweat it down. So this process is probably gonna take a minute or two. But in this time, while this is going, we're gonna add some dry seasoning to our pan. So we're gonna add our biscuits are done. All right, so we're gonna continue this really quick though. So we're gonna add a teaspoon of garlic powder. We're gonna add a teaspoon of granulated onion, just for an extra emphasis on those sort of flavors that we're already building up in the pan. We're gonna add a teaspoon of chili flake, which is a little aggressive, but I like my sausage gravy spicy. And we're gonna add a tablespoon of sage, ground sage. And this ground sage mixed with the chili flake is really what's gonna give you the flavor and really give you the taste of sausage. So this is super aromatic right now. This is all coming together. Next, I'm gonna add about 1/4 cup of flour into this really quick. And what this is gonna do is start creating the roux, start creating the base of the gravy that we're in the process of making. So I wanna mix this really thoroughly, and I wanna make sure that I continue to scrape the bottom of my pan, because I don't want any of the flour, I don't want any of the other products that are in there to burn, any of those dry seasonings that I just put in there. So I'm just gonna make sure that I continue to mix from the bottom all the way through. And I'm gonna let this cook for just a second, because I wanna make sure that I'm cooking a little bit of color into my roux, a little bit of color into that flour. So we're just gonna continue to make sure that we're getting it good. And now next, we are going to slowly add a cup of soy milk, and then we'll continue to add a little bit more as we go after that. All right. So I'm gonna add this slow, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm continuously stirring as I'm doing it. And you'll see in real time this start to come together and thicken up. All right. So now that our pan doesn't need as much attention for just a couple of seconds, I'm gonna go into the oven and I'm gonna remove those biscuits. Got great texture, we've got great granularity on top. You can see that really awesome salt baked in there, some really good color on the top, really great color on the bottom. And now one thing to note is that this cast iron pan is very hot. So if you're using a cast iron at home, you can't just take them out and leave them on there, because they're gonna continue to cook. So we're gonna take our biscuits off of our cast iron. And if anybody is wondering, yes, these biscuits are super hot. I just have kitchen hands, so I can handle it. And we're gonna bring these over here. Now we're gonna get back to finishing off our gravy, and then we're gonna finish up this dish. So as you can see, our gravy has gotten very thick, which is good because that's what we want. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna add soy milk to this until it becomes the consistency of a really nice, thin, smooth gravy. So I'm gonna measure, which is something I usually wouldn't do, but I'm gonna add probably about another 1/2 cup to this, and then we'll see where we're at and we'll adjust from there. Just take a second to incorporate into there. And that's a little bit still too thick, so I'm gonna go ahead and add one last 1/2 cup of soy milk, and I think that we're gonna be in really good shape. You want the gravy to be thick, and you want it to sort of stand up on its own, but you don't want it to be so thick that it is unpleasant. All right, so with that last 1/2 cup of soy milk, you can see we're in really good shape. Now what I'm gonna do is take a clean spoon and try our gravy and see if it needs anything, additional seasoning, additional salt. We haven't seasoned it all the way yet, but I'm gonna use this as a basis, and I'm gonna use this as sort of the preliminary grounds on what we're gonna do to finish. So on that first bite, we get a lot of texture from that tempeh. Those bigger pieces of tempeh are gonna sort of crumble, which is gonna be great because that's gonna really heavily resemble ground meat. A little bit of chili flake is getting me in the back of the throat, which is good. It's got a little bit of spice to it. And all we're gonna do is add about, I don't know, maybe a teaspoon, half a teaspoon worth of salt. And then we're gonna add a little bit more flour. I'm sorry, a little bit more pepper. I'm gonna shut this off because right now we're just in the finishing phase so that it doesn't continue to reduce and become thicker on me. Get all those seasonings that we just added mixed into there. And voila, we've got sausage gravy. We've got our scallions over here. We've got our biscuits that just came out of the oven. We've got our sausage gravy that is coming off the heat. And I have a nice little hot pan holder to keep that on too. We're gonna get a plate. We're gonna take one of our circular biscuits, use our knife, split that bad boy in half. And as you can see, got all these awesome nooks, all these awesome crannies in there. It's crumbling apart. That's exactly what you want to see out of a biscuit. Put that on our plate. Get some gravy spooned up on there. Get it overflowing on the sides. Why not? We're filming this on Sunday morning. Who cares? What we're gonna do now is just grab some of that scallion that we had before. Use that over the top. And there you've got it. We've got a vegan biscuit with tempeh sausage gravy and a little bit of scallions on top. Get some potatoes right here, get a hash brown, get whatever you want. Who cares? It's your breakfast. Most importantly, enjoy. Most importantly, share it with some other people. Hope you guys are doing okay. Hope you continue to do okay. Hope these biscuits bring a little bit of happiness to your breakfast. Bring a little bit of happiness to your day. Enjoy this gravy. Tag me on Instagram if you end up making this recipe. My Instagram handle is Strong Vegan Chef. I'd love to see your guys' versions of this at home. Enjoy this comfort. Thank you guys. Thank you for supporting Cotton Branch, and stay safe. We'll see you soon.
Hey y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed that video. Oh my gosh, biscuits and gravy, I'm telling you, the best morning food in the world. I love it. And thank you so much, Matt, for doing this for us. We really appreciate it. We want to make sure we show people that, vegan eating or plant-based eating is accessible, and, you can use a lot of staples in your kitchen to make this happen. And so we really appreciate, the contribution here. I have a question here. It says, what type of knives do you use? You know what? I'm going to get that for you. I'll ask Matt and see if he can let us know about what knives he uses, and I will respond later on. But let me go ahead and just see who's out front real quick. Okay, nobody, because it's raining. Yeah, it's been rough over the past, 2 days. And we haven't had a lot of good weather. And so, we've been having to work outside and making sure everyone's okay. And it's been crazy. But thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back again live tomorrow as well as on Friday. And we hope y'all have a great and wonderful Wednesday. And we will see y'all soon. All right? Bye.